What's going on, everybody? What is going on? It is Friday, December 15th, 2023. And y'all know what that means. It is time for the weekly live stream show here on the Torian Rain Reloaded channel. If you have not done so already, please go ahead and smash that like button, hit that share button. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm glad that you subscribe. Shout out to all of my patrons over there on Patreon. Speaking of Patreon, y'all will be getting another Patreon video tomorrow. So be at 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. Shout out to all the people who follow me on Twitter, those in the Discord, and on Instagram. And speaking of Instagram, StreamYard just did an interesting update today, where now you can multi-stream between StreamYard and Instagram. I was going to try and test it out today with this particular live stream, but I decided not to. I think what I want to do is probably test it out with when I do singular topics, like, you know, when I do the live streams in the afternoon, probably do it with that rather than with this one, because those streams tend to be shorter than this one. So I might, you know, test it out next week, maybe possibly when I do the last episode review of Murder in Boston, which will be this upcoming Tuesday. So I thought that was a very interesting update that Instagram did, and I think that would be dope, especially for me, because I don't go live on Instagram like that I used to quite often. but not nearly as much anymore. But if I can combine the two, why not? But with that being said, let me go ahead and see who is here so far in the chat. We have Barrington Mack, Angie E, Darlene Parsons, Hacksign KT, Cool Spider, Donna C, RDRD, Savion Draco 0, Cornell Sly, Cool Spider, Till Dog 12, Emma Crawford, Denise Scales, 007 Spidey 2, Lisa Hickman, Wallow J, Queen of Spades, and shout out to Denise Scales for the first dono of the day with the $5 super sticker. I appreciate it. We also have Rachel Marin, Rocco Muro, DSM Sinister, Sir Facton, David O, the sports and political channel of LB, Code Red 713, and we got a super dono from Cornell Sly with the $99.99. I wholeheartily appreciate that. He said, thanks to y'all for all your content. I appreciate your contribution, and thank you for being a continued watcher of the viewer, I should say, of the channel. J Cage, Bot Boy VS, Grape Shot, UJM Beck, and Pinky JYB. Shout out to everybody who is here so far. We have quite a few topics to discuss, some updates to discuss, and some new stuff to talk about as well. Shout out to Savion for the $5 super chat. He said Hannah Payne got that life sentence. We're going to talk about that as well. I actually watched the sentencing live. As a matter of fact, when my 11 a.m. video was about to premiere, they were just getting started with the stream for the sentencing, because they were actually supposed to start at 10, but they didn't start until 10:30. So I was going back and forth between watching the premiere of my video and watching the stream of them doing the sentencing for her at the same time. But we're going to talk about that in this stream as well, because like I said, when I talked about her in the Triple P a couple of days ago, I said when the sentencing happens, we'll talk about the sentencing in this stream. Let's see, we got Sean in here. Shout out to Sean. We got Derry in here. Shout out to Derry. But yeah, how was everybody's day? How was everybody's week? I didn't tell y'all, but this past Sunday, I went to the SWV concert that was in my hometown, and it was phenomenal. All three of those women still got it. I was surprised I still had my voice, because they came out when I was a kid, and I've been a fan of this pretty much my entire life. And they did the damn thing. I really enjoyed it. I definitely, got my money's worth. First time ever seeing them in concert too. So, I was sitting, I was watching them like when they're, I guess you could say, past their prime, but they still sounded phenomenal. Like, they still had their voices. Too Short says, are you going to do a review of Leave the World Behind? I'm not entirely sure if I am or if I'm not going to. I don't want to say that I will do one and I'm not going to, because Leave the World Behind wasn't a movie that was on my radar. I'm gonna be honest with you. The only reason Leave the World Behind got on pretty much all of our radar is because PC got upset because of that line, that one line. If they didn't get upset by that, many of us wouldn't even know about this movie. I'm just being completely honest with you. So they actually helped promote that movie by being fragile. Their fragility helped to promote that movie way more than it already is promoted. They pretty much gave it free press. But I don't know, like I said, I don't know if I'm watching it or not. I don't want to say that I am going to watch it or I'm not going to watch it, or if I do watch it, I'm going to choose to review it. I don't review every single movie that I watch. There are some movies that I've watched that I've never reviewed. But if I do happen to check it out, then, if I do choose to review it, then I will. But from what I heard, it's a very interesting movie, from what I've heard, despite the fragility at play from a certain sector. All right, y'all, we are about 10 minutes in, so we are now going to go ahead and get started with the stream. And by the way, I was mad because I thought my phone was charging, this whole time, because I always like to make sure my phone has a 100% charge before I start these streams, because I have to use my phone to look at the chat when I'm off of this screen. That's why I need to get another monitor so I can dual screen this thing. And that thing wasn't even charging, but I had the charging right here, and it's currently on 49%. So I'm gonna probably be having this thing attached to the charger the entire stream. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. And usually I always like to start off streams with happy, melanated, excellent stories. But sometimes there are instances where that's not the case. If I don't have one, then I have to start it off with stuff like this and unfortunate news. So breaking news and unfortunate and sad news, actor Andre Braugher passed away a couple days ago. And when I saw his picture, I was like, wait, I know that guy, because I've seen him in movies, I've seen him on various television shows, and it said that he passed away, and his cause of death was revealed today. It said that he passed away from lung cancer. That is very, very, very unfortunate. I think the first time I ever seen him on screen or in a movie was probably that Rise of the Silver Surfer movie, that Fantastic Four movie that came out back in 07. Yeah, 07. I think that was the first time I saw him in it. And I'm going to be honest with you, I did not like his character in that movie. If y'all saw Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, you probably didn't like his character either. But that was the first time I ever saw him. But he was very famously known for being on this show called Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Now, I never watched the show, but it was a very popular show. Like, the show had stayed on for a lot of seasons, and he was nominated several times for various awards for his work on that show. But very talented actor. I feel like he should have gotten way more bigger roles than he did, because he was a very good and talented actor. But, unfortunately, he is no longer with us. But yep, that is him right there. And looks like he had a pretty lengthy career as well. But, sometimes when it comes to black actors, they don't get no notice until much, much later. This kind of reminds me of what happened with Taraji P. Henson. Us over here, we knew of her before she got on Empire. But when she got on Empire, that's when everybody knew who she just kind of, quote unquote, discovered her, quote unquote. But either way, RIP to this man. Condolences to his family, his friends, his associates, all of that good stuff. So now that we have done that particular story right there, let's go on to this right here, which is the update involving Hannah Payne. So as y'all know, I talked about Hannah Payne in a Triple P the other day when it was talking about, hold on, let me share my screen because I cut it off. Hold on, y'all. Okay, here it is. All right. So as y'all know, the other day I did a live stream. I did a Triple P talking about all of the charges that Hannah Payne was found guilty of, in which she was found guilty of all of them. It was a clean sweep. She was found guilty on all 8 charges. The biggest charge was the malice murder one. That was the biggest charge, and she was found guilty on that, which was also the charge in which, when they were doing the sentencing, she got the most years. So she was sentenced to 30 years on the malice murder charge. And there were 2 other charges that she got found that she was sentenced for. One had 8 years. The other had 5 years. So a total of 43. So Hannah Payne in total was sentenced to life imprisonment with the possibility of parole after 43 years. So if she gets the parole, she cannot be eligible for parole until she turns 68, because she is currently 25. Now, I actually did, like I said before, I watched the live stream on the Long Crime YouTube channel when they were doing the sentencing, and I was able to listen to what because they called his sisters. He had 2 sisters, well, Kenneth Herring, 2 sisters, and his brother up there to speak on the stand. Every last one of them, when they was, they gave impact statements, and then they gave what they feel that Hannah Payne deserved as far as the sentencing goes. They said that he should get life without the possibility of parole. They pretty much all three of them said that. Then they did the part where they brought up Hannah Payne's, like people close to her. I didn't care to hear from them about anything they had to say about her, so I just muted that part. And then they went to recess, and then they came back, and then that's when they did the sentencing. Now, some people were upset because they feel that she should have gotten that life without parole attached to it. There were some people that were kind of upset by that because they feel that she should have definitely got it with no chance of possibility, because she could easily live out her entire 43 years for all we know. It's a long time, like, trust and believe, because 43 years outside in freedom is a long time. But just imagine how long it is when you are confined to a prison. That's even longer. Like, you don't have the freedom to maneuver. I'm almost certain that her attorneys are going to appeal, honestly, because she was found guilty on all 8 charges. I don't know how far that appeal is going to go, because remember, Derek Chauvin and his attorneys, how many appeals they've been trying to get for this dude, like 4 or 5 appeals, and all of them were denied, and he got less time than Hannah Payne. So I don't know, but we'll see, because we know how this establishment tends to be. Because I posted it up on Twitter, and people were saying, I bet she's probably going to get parole after 10 years, but I don't even think that's going to happen. But we'll see. But like I said, she was found guilty on all 8 charges, and that malice murder one was the big one that she was found guilty on. So we shall see. Iron Will says she definitely should have gotten life without parole, but 40 plus years of her life will be spent behind bars, and I'm content with that. Sir Facton says she's going to lose all her best years behind bars, though. She will be appealing like a mofo, I bet. Denise said, who's to say she'll survive 43 years? Yeah, so I said there's definitely an upside to this, besides the fact that, she didn't get the life without parole. Because like I said, 43 years is a long time. That's almost a quarter. That's almost half a century. And mind you, she's 25, which is a quarter of a century. She's going to be in retirement age by the time she gets released, if she makes it to that age. Now, keep in mind, Kenneth Herring was 62 when she killed him. So she has 6 more additional years attached to herself, more than he did. See, she might have a chance to make it to 68. Unfortunately, the man she took out does not. Teacher said his brother said whatever the court gives her, she deserves more. Yeah, I remember him saying that. And speaking of the brother, I was so mad when Hannah Payne's attorney came up and said what he said. I said I wanted to get up. I wanted to go through that screen and slap him. If anybody saw the stream when that happened today, that was so conniving for Hannah Payne's attorney to say what he said, because Kenneth Herring's brother called out her attorney right there on the stand for some stuff that he said about him during the trial. I guess he said some very negative things about his brother, and he called him out on it. And then when the attorney for the family of Kenneth Herring was done talking, Hannah Payne's attorney came to the stand, to the podium, and said some very, like I said, negative things about Kenneth Herring, and said that he wanted to apologize and he didn't mean nothing by it or anything like that. I said if I was the brother, I would have been like, okay. It would have been a very nonchalant, cold response. Shout out to Fauna Faye for the $10 super chat. She said, hey, Torian, since you're talking about celebrities, I wish your take on the crazy Diddy situation. Also, the media tried to make Majors look bad with this new tape. Very apparent that she was drunk. I don't know what to say about Diddy. It's a reason why I haven't talked about the Diddy situation, because it's so much stuff that's coming out. It's like, one thing I've always told people, is that when it's a avalanche of stuff like that, once you start talking about it, you have to keep talking about it until it's done. I'm the person that I would like to wait until it's done, and then if I choose to talk about it, then I will talk about it. Because this snowball thing that's going on with Diddy right now, it's not stopping anytime soon. It's like a boulder rolling down a hill. PD Chicago says, can you find the soundbite? Hold on, y'all, because like I said, it was on long crime, so it's like if I find it, it's like I have to skip ahead to try to find it. But it shouldn't be hard because I'll be able to see where it is located. But let me see if I can find it. Hold on, y'all.
A woman will spend decades behind bars after following, shooting, and killing a man she reportedly saw leaving the scene of a crash. 11 Alive's Latasha Gibbons joining us live tonight outside the Clayton County.
Oh, sorry, y'all. The thing ended up pressing play on me. Let me see if I can skip ahead a little bit and see if I can find that soundbite. All right, let me just go ahead and share this right quick so y'all can see this. All right, so this is Kenneth Herring's younger brother right here. Because the sound of it looks like it was like, if it would sound like to me like it might have been 4 siblings, unless maybe there was a sibling that didn't come to, to the court, maybe because they couldn't bear it. But he had 4 siblings. It was 2 sisters and his brother spoke. So 4 in total. And Kenneth Herring was the oldest of all of them.
Mr. Herring.
Now listen. Now really pay attention to what Hannah Payne's attorney says.
Yes. Hopefully throughout the trial, I began this by saying it's a tragedy for all parties, and my condolences once again to you and your family. I'm just hoping that what happened in the trial was therapeutic and you're able to put closure to it and move on. All right.
Put closure to it and move on. From the words of the sibling of the brother, you was very disrespectful. Let me see if I can go back a little bit so you can get a little bit of context of what he said. Hold on, let me skip ahead a little bit.
Would you like the court to know today regarding sentencing?
Well, that I would be inundated with phone calls from law enforcement from Clayton County, Georgia. I immediately panicked and feared the worst. I had no intention on answering those calls due to fear. I answered the phone by mistake and told the gentleman what county I lived in. And within 5 minutes, my wife called me and told me there was a deputy at the house to see me.
Let me skip ahead just a little bit. I'm trying to get right to that part.
And on we go. Thank you.
Mr. Herring, what is your opinion today as it relates to sentencing in this case?
At some point in my life, I'm going to need some healing. My opinion as far as judgment in this, I feel that whatever the court gives her, which should be life without parole, she deserves more.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, 1 second, Mr. Herring.
Mr. Herring.
Yes.
Hopefully throughout the trial, I began this by saying it's a tragedy for all parties, and my condolences once again to you and your family. I'm just hoping that what happened in the trial was therapeutic and you're able to put closure to it and move on. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I always tell you, be a good reader of body language. Notice how comfortable he was with the attorney for the family, but look at how distant and cold he became when Hannah Payne's attorney came up there when he made those comments during the trial. You can tell he didn't want to hear from him. He kept it classy. He kept it professional, because if he wanted to, he probably would have cussed him out right there on that stand. But you could just look at his facial expression, just look like, I don't have anything to say to you. Like, you could have held on to that. Like, when you said what you said during the trial about my brother, my dead brother, there's nothing you can come back with, because guess what? If Hannah Payne was found not guilty on everything, you wouldn't have got on there and quote unquote apologize the way you just did, if you even want to call that an apology. You're only saying that because you lost, so you can keep your little apology, your little funky apology. That's how I interpret it. So there's that. So that's the soundbite, people, that y'all wanted to hear. That was it right there. But if y'all want to go watch the entire thing, it's on Law and Crime. They did a very good job covering this trial. Very, very good job. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next story. And this one right here, if y'all want to see what buck breaking looks like and trying to start at an early age, this one is the perfect example of it. Who heard about the 10-year-old boy that got probation for urinating and was ordered to write a report on Kobe Bryant? Little black boy. Like I said, when nature calls, it calls. Listen, we've all been in a position where we had to use the bathroom, but there was no restroom around. So what do? We go on the side of the road or wherever we can. Now, for the ladies, I don't know what y'all going to do. But for us guys, us males, whether it's grown adult men or little boys, we got a little bit of an upper hand with this. I'm just saying. But he got probation and had to write a report on Kobe Bryant. I'm trying to figure out why Kobe Bryant. Not saying it's bad to write one about him, but I was like, Kobe Bryant of all people? Let's look into this. And I'm not lost that this happened in Mississippi. A child was taken to a Mississippi jail after he urinated in public. WREG Memphis reports that the 10-year-old boy now has 3 months probation to complete, as well as a 2-page report on Kobe Bryant. On August 10th in Senatobia, Mississippi, the child's mother had gone into a law office seeking legal assistance and left her child in the parking lot. He needed to use the restroom while he was waiting, but the courthouse across the way didn't allow the public to use its restroom, so the child urinated close to his mother's car. A plainclothes Senatobia police detective saw the boy go to the bathroom. In this situation, an officer personally witnessed a 10-year-old child committing an act in public, which would have been illegal for an adult under these circumstances, Senatobia Police Chief Richard Chandler said. The officer did not observe a parent on the scene during the initial contact. Officers found Eason and told her about the incident, adding that her son was going to receive a youth court referral. He was then taken into police custody, though he wasn't handcuffed. The arresting officer has since been dismissed from the police department due to controversy. It's unclear why the child has to write a paper on the late Bryant. I'm confused on that too. I'm confused on the whole thing, but I'm really confused on that part. It was an error in judgment for us to transport the child to the police station since the mother was present at the time as a responsible alternative, Chief Chandler said per Fox 13. Exactly. They made it seem like the mother was there. If it was just the thing, they could just say, hey, where's your guardian? And you get it to the, she went into the courthouse, and I'm using the restroom the bathroom out here because I couldn't use it inside. But oh no, they see this little black kid. He just had to be up to something. Let's go ahead and get him. And not only that, we're going to put him on probation. Then we're going to make him write a 2-page report about Kobe Bryant. It goes on to say mistakes like this are a reminder. Listen, hold on. This is what we're not going to do. We're not going to sit up here and insult all of our intelligence and say this was a mistake. This was very intentional. This is not a mistake. They said mistakes like this are a reminder in this profession as the continual need for training and refreshers on the various topics that we encounter each day. Mistakes in training. They sure do love to use those words, especially at training a lot. It's no amount of training in the world that will redo the mindset that this person already had in their head when they saw this black kid. So now this kid has a record just for pissing outside. Good question, Donna. How do you? Oh, I can answer that. You can't. Their mind's already made up. That is insane. And by the way, this is a picture of the boy right here on the side. And it looks like this is a picture of him inside of the cop car. What gets me, though, is that this happened back in August, and it is just now being reported. Let's see what y'all talking about in the chat. Only us says they out to destroy our children's future. Then teacher says, I can't believe a court went through with his case. Oh, I can. Rokamuro says you can't get rid of something that's in someone. Exactly. It's embedded. It's never going away. Grape shot, that's what they want. Every black male to have a record. Exactly. Remember the school to prison pipeline is a thing, but guess what? This happened outside of school. School wasn't even back in yet. It seems to me it could be translated to anywhere we can get you to prison pipeline. Fauna face in some states peeing outside can get you on the sex offenders registry list. Well, while that is true, in this case, this was a child that was using it. And then they even said that he wasn't an adult. So we don't even know how it even got to this point. But I understand what you're saying because that's considered indecent exposure. Because for all intents and purposes, they might think that, oh, you're out there just, showing your junk. And people are in public. Just like if you get caught having sex in public, like say for instance that you are like say let's not even say in a park. Let's say you're in your car. If you are caught having sex in your car, you can not only get arrested and fined, but they can put you on the sex offenders list. That's just a little FYI in case y'all didn't know that. For those of y'all who like to live adventurously. But still, at the same time, what this kid was doing was completely harmless and is not something that is new. But yeah, they gave this kid a record, and he's only in I think they said he's in the 4th grade or going to the 4th grade or something like that. The zealous approach was Zola. Yeah, that is very true. If you get caught having sex in a public place, you can end up on the sex offenders list. It's not the most common way to get on there, as we already know, but it is a way to get on there. But hopefully they can get this thing. I don't know if they'll be able to get this straightened out, but really this should not be even on this child's record. But man, let's move on to the next story. Now, this one right here, I meant to talk about last week, but I literally forgot, and I don't know how I did. But it involves this individual out of California in LA whose name is Jerrid. Let me see if I can get his name right. Jerrid Powell. And he was basically known as a serial killer out there for basically deleting a lot of homeless people. But this recent development just came out about him that's even more interesting. So I'm going to let the news clip play. It came out on December 4th, 2023.
Now at 5, a very brief court appearance this afternoon for the alleged serial killer accused of murdering 3 homeless men and another man in a follow-home murder in San Dimas. Today, his arraignment was continued until December 8th, and our I-team has learned he has a long history with the courts. Good evening, everyone. I'm Colleen Williams.
And I'm Annabelle Sedano. Our investigative reporter Eric Leonard joins us live with new information about the man in custody and a recent windfall from a lawsuit. Eric.
Hi, Annabelle and Colleen. Well, we found a number of legal actions that involve Jerrid Powell in both civil and criminal court in 3 different counties. And the most surprising case we found is that he'd just been paid a $700,000 settlement in the months before these killings began. It was here on the beach in Santa Monica where Jerrid Powell, now accused of murdering 4 men in less than a week, said he'd been run over by a Santa Monica Beach Patrol vehicle in 2019. This lawsuit, filed months later, said Powell suffered permanent and severe injuries, including crushed ribs. The Santa Monica City Council agreed to settle the case earlier this year, and in late June, according to the council's meeting notes, approved the $700,000 payment. His lawyers didn't return our calls about the case. Powell filed another suit in 2020. In this handwritten complaint, he said he suffered emotional distress in a rent dispute. That one was dismissed by a judge. In 2017 and 2018, criminal court records show Powell was sentenced to probation for an assault with a deadly weapon case in San Bernardino and to more probation for 2 shoplifting or theft cases. Powell was arrested last week by LA County Sheriff's deputies after detectives said they identified his car in the follow-home murder of LA County employee Nicholas Cimbolon at his home in San Dimas last Tuesday. The car's license plate was detected when the car traveled into Beverly Hills.
We've solved dozens of cases of our own and other cities through the use of our cameras, our drones, and our automated license plate reader technology.
Beverly Hills Police Chief Mark Stainbrook told NBC News the city's license plate scanners flagged the car.
After the sheriff's department entered the vehicle into the license plate reader on Wednesday night at approximately 9:15, the suspect entered the city in the vehicle. It came up and alerted us that the vehicle was in the city and units were dispatched to intercept the vehicle.
Powell was arrested, and police said a handgun found in the car has now been linked to the San Dimas murder and the killings of homeless men on November 26th, 27th, and 29th. Those men were 37, 62, and 52 years old. 2 were shot as they slept. All 3, police say, appear to have been chosen at random. Most local police agencies have been using the automatic license plate readers for some years. In fact, the agencies work on a joint database, which is how they're able to share information. But few cities have as many of them as Beverly Hills. Reporting live, I'm investigative reporter Eric Leonard, NBC4 News.
All right, so y'all just heard that right there. And man, does this dude have a interesting rap sheet. But the biggest part was when it said that he had got a $700,000 payout from an injury he had sustained a couple years ago. I'm going to tell you this right now. If I sustain an injury like that paid me at $700,000, I don't know if he got all of that or if that's probably, if there was some taken out maybe for attorneys or whatever. Do you know how out the way I would have been? I would have been somewhere minding my business. Not this guy, though. This guy was getting into stuff before his injury and then got even worse after he got paid. I can't even bring myself to feel bad for this dude. And like Grape Shot said down there in the chat, it's crazy how many people actually will probably applaud this kind of behavior because they feel the homeless people are taking up space. They're taking up room. And a true misconception when it comes to homeless people is they think that only the people who become homeless are the ones who are fiscally irresponsible, when that's not always the case. It could be a thing where they could have been fiscally responsible, but maybe they had a job and their job fired them and they had trouble finding another place of employment and they used up all their resources. They didn't have anyone to lean on, to financially help them. So, it's not always just the thing of, oh, they were just irresponsible with their money. And I've been to LA. I saw Skid Row. Man, listen. Skid Row is one of the most depressing, saddest sights you will ever see in your life, should you ever have a chance to see it for yourself. Yeah, but this guy clearly got some issues if he's just going around just knocking off homeless people. I mean, it's already bad enough that they, you know, they don't have a place to, like a stable place to live. They probably got to go from place to place to place to just sleep or scramble to find food. They're already down on their luck as it is. But for you to go ahead and basically terrorize them, later deleting them, that's even worse. So yeah, I think it's safe to say this guy's probably gonna for sure be locked up for the rest of his life. I'm calling that one right now, and I'm not even a betting man. On Lee said the pandemic hurt a lot of people. Exactly. People couldn't work unless you was an essential worker. If you was an essential worker, then you were good. But the thing is, it was not as many essential workers compared to those who weren't, I should say. The percentages were very different. And yes, Johnny is right. Cali is very expensive. When I went to LA, gas was $6 a gallon. When I had my rental, whenever that gas gauge got to halfway, I was right there at that Shell gas station that was near the hotel I was staying at. I refused to let that thing go beyond half, or fall below half, I should say. But let's move on now to the next story. And this is another update story, and this is involving Jonathan Majors. I actually meant to talk about Jonathan Majors last week, but I said, nah, let me go ahead and just wait on it. So this Jonathan Majors case is just getting very interesting by the day, but I think they've actually reached their closing arguments. I think they have done their closing arguments as of today. So, you know, it's Friday, so most likely the verdict will come out next week. But the thing that's been floating around is this video clip with Jonathan Majors and his ex-girlfriend chasing him down the street. So I'm gonna go ahead and play. So it showed that it looks like he was trying to get her into the truck, but she was trying not to get in the truck. So I'm assuming at this point she was most definitely under the influence. She was definitely drunk out of her mind. And when she kept trying to get out of the truck, or she was trying to force her way out of the truck after he was trying to get her in the truck, that's when this happens, what you just saw right here with him running down the street and her chasing right behind him. Now, keep in mind, this woman keeps claiming that he attacked her, he hit her, she was bleeding behind the ear and all of this stuff right here. But none of that was the case. None of that was the case. And we have this video footage right here. This is one right here. I can't wait to see what's going to come of this. Because if he's found not guilty, do you know how hard I would push to countersue her? And shout out, and I don't want to put the person's full name out there, but shout out to the person who just contributed to the Cash App. Their initials are MR. If they are in this chat, I appreciate it. JK said it looks like a scene from out of Get Out. I will say, no way, a white woman lied on a black man. What's the world coming to? Exact. Listen, a tale as old as time. They say America, they say baseball is America's pastime. I will see their baseball and raise them a white woman accusing a black man of something he did not do. This goes all the way back to D.W. Griffith's version of Birth of a Nation. Then I saw another article somewhere where they said how this case is so eerily similar to Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I said, you think? But we shall see. We shall see when that verdict is. And I think somebody put in the chat that the verdict is going to come out on Monday. So we will see what that is, and then we will discuss it on next Friday's stream. But that's pretty much this right here. Let's move on now to the next story. And this is another tragic story, but it's also going into the category of the new criminal class with the South of the Borderian and the not so secret invasion. And this is coming out of Texas, where you have this South of the Borderian, and I'm talking about the one on the left, who murdered a 16-year-old girl whose name was Lizbeth Medina down in Texas. And they discovered it was him after they found her dead in her apartment. So this is him right here on the left, and that is her on the right. Texas police have apprehended a suspect in the murder of 16-year-old Lizbeth Medina, who was found dead in her apartment on December 5th. The Etna Police Department on Sunday announced the arrest of Rafael Govea Romero in quote-unquote undocumented male. Keywords right there. Shout out to Rob over at Blacklight Revelations and his continued and ongoing Undocumented Bros series, whom officials believe is the person responsible for the death of Lizbeth Medina in Schulenburg. Etna Police Department and Texas Rangers immediately traveled to Schulenburg, where Romero was placed under arrest for capital murder. That means if he's found guilty, he's getting in the chair, and transported to Jackson County Jail. The department said in a Sunday morning press release, although Romero is apprehended, we recognize Lizbeth's family and friends are still grieving and still need support from the community. The citizens of Etna can now sleep in peace. When asked whether she knows or recognizes the suspect, Lizbeth's mother, Jacqueline, told Fox News Digital not at all. She is waiting for more information from the police. Lizbeth's murder came as a shock to the Etna community last week as authorities hunted the teenager's suspected killer. Jacqueline Medina told Fox News Digital last week that she came home on Tuesday evening to find Lizbeth dead in the bathtub of their residence at the Cottonwood Apartments after she had not seen or heard from the 16-year-old that afternoon. So I wonder if they said in the bathtub. Now, I don't know, was it water in the bathtub or not? Because if it was water in there, he probably drowned her. If it wasn't, it was something else. I decided to go look for her, and I kept calling her phone nonstop, and it would take me straight to voicemail. I called a bunch of people, and nobody knew anything. It wasn't until I walked into the restroom that I was on the phone with my friend and asking him to come help me look for her is when I saw her foot, and it was in the bathtub. And so I opened the curtains, and there she was. Medina left for work around 6 a.m. on Tuesday. She said she woke her daughter up before she left because she had to get ready for cheer practice. That last anyone heard from Lizbeth was around 7:30 a.m. on that Tuesday. After that, friends and family assumed her phone just must have died. The Monday prior, Lizbeth had been sick from school, so friends did not find it unusual that she did not show up to school again on Tuesday. Medina finished work on Tuesday afternoon to attend a Christmas parade that Lizbeth was supposed to be in, but she did not see her daughter at the parade and began asking friends and family to help locate her. That is when she returned to her apartment and found Lizbeth dead in the bathtub. I don't understand why. My God, why would they do this to her? She was such a beautiful, smart, and amazing girl. There's moments where I just can't take it, and then there's moments where I feel like I need to be strong. She and her daughter were living in the apartment complex temporarily after Medina moved from Nebraska to Texas for her job in a renewable energy. She and Lizbeth were the only two people who had keys to the apartment. Romero was arrested a day after Etna police shared security camera footage of a person of interest in the case. Medina previously described her daughter as an amazing good girl. She was very mature and cared deeply for her friends and family. I just want everybody to know that she was an amazing child. She wasn't a normal teenager getting in trouble for doing crazy stuff. She was very mature for her age. She was a caring and loving person who, as far as I know and from the messages I received, she changed a lot of people's lives. I just want everybody to remember her that way and not the way that she was taken from me. The Medina family has created a GoFundMe for their efforts to find Liz's suspected killer, titled Justice for Lizbeth Medina. So I guess that was like a previous statement, but they already found him. So yeah. I want to know, what does Governor Wills have to say about this? Because while he was finding it funny to send all these South of the Borderians from Texas and bust them to Chicago and New York, you have one right here that just murdered a 16-year-old girl. Because I read this whole article and I didn't see one statement come from him. Good point, Zart, especially that last part. Where was the killer's father? Let's ask Larry Elder. Maybe he can dig him up. Because, apparently fatherless homes only applies to black families, Didn't you know? But yeah, I am curious, though, on a serious note, because they said, again, that they found her in the bathtub, and they didn't specify if there was water in there. They just said that her foot was sticking out of it. So again, if there was water in that tub, my guess is he probably drowned her. But if there wasn't, it was something else. But they didn't go into too many details about that. I guess they didn't want to go like beyond that. But the fact of the matter is that she was found in the bathtub, or he could have killed her outside of the bathtub and then put her body in the bathtub and then left. So that's also another possibility. But either way, it's a tragedy nonetheless. They need to definitely find him guilty on every charge possible. They should also deport him. But I feel like if he did the crime here, let him get tortured here. B1 Tony 45. So RIP to this young girl, condolences to her family and her friends and all of that good stuff. Next up, y'all are gonna get a little chuckle. This one's a little bit light, but it's much deserved. So we're talking about Malika Andrews again. Yes, I know a dark cloud just hovered over even more, even from the previous story, but maybe it didn't, because Malika Andrews got booed at this game. People are tired of her. Malika Andrews got a rude welcome Saturday during the NBA in-season tournament as fans loudly booed the reporter during her introduction. After the Los Angeles Lakers won the NBA Cup, the PA announcer in Las Vegas T-Mobile Arena introduced Andrews to present tournament awards. There were audible boos from the crowd. So let's go ahead and play this so y'all can hear how the people reacted.
2023 NBA in-season tournament award ceremony, ABC and ESPN's Malika Andrews.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by members of the Boys and Girls Club of...
There it is. Did y'all hear that? It's a short clip, but you can hear the people clearly boo her. Like, we know what a boo sounds like versus a cheer. Let me play it one more time, just in case y'all didn't get it.
Malika Andrews.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by members of the Boys and Girls Club of...
They tired of her. Point blank, period. They are tired of her. We've been tired of her. I'm still sitting here saying to myself, I'm shocked how that tweet, that 2-sentence tweet that I posted a couple weeks ago went viral the way that it did. I guess it's true what they say. A little does go a long way. But shout out to the fans. They recognize it. It says the moment was particularly awkward as it drowned out not only Andrew's intro, but her own introduction of members of the local Boys and Girls Club who were standing behind her holding medals to present to the winning players. And I guess that's the unfortunate part right there, because her being booed drowned out the Boys and Girls Club trying to give medals to those players for performing in that tournament. But you know what they say, casualties. And it's not a slight to the boys and girls of that club. They shouldn't feel bad. It's just that they got hit with a stray known as Malika Andrews. So there's that. And you know what? It's about time. It is about time that this happens. And I hope that she gets booed at every event that she has to attend and speak at. That'll just show you how much she's not wanted there. Maybe then she will get the hint. Anyway, let's move on from that. And speaking of a person who's losing out here, Sheila Jackson Lee. I'm sure all of you down south in Texas and maybe across the establishment heard about good old Sheila Jackson Lee losing her mayoral race. Honestly, I didn't know this woman was running for mayor until I saw Kid Gravity do a video on her, or a live stream talking about her a couple days ago. I didn't know this woman was running, but then again, I don't be following Sheila Jackson Lee, but I do know that she be stomping for all these other groups and not ours, and which she's supposed to. But you know, the CBC, they don't do what they are supposed to do as it pertains to us, but they will do for all other groups. But either way, she lost. Let's see the details. Democratic State Senator John Whitmer defeated Democratic Representative Sheila Jackson Lee in the Houston mayoral race in Saturday's runoff election after a campaign heavily focused on voter concerns over safety on the streets. Whitmer, a perennial tough on crime voice who for decades heralded Texas regulations over public safety, was declared the winner by the Associated Press with 57% reporting. At that point, Whitmer was leading by an almost 2-1 margin. With backing from the city's fire department and police unions and a multi-million-dollar campaign war chest, Whitmire was the early favorable in the race and finished first in the 18-candidate general election in November. When no candidate secured 50% of the vote, the race went to a runoff. Whitmire leaned on a coalition of moderate Democrats, independents, and conservative voters with a prominent campaign promise to make the city safer with increased policing. He said all the buzzwords, y'all. He said all the buzzwords. Sheila Jackson Lee should have known she didn't stand a chance. City elections are officially nonpartisan in Houston, in the country's fourth largest city with more than 2.3 million people, but Democrats have held the office since 1982. The showdown between Whitmire and Jackson Lee illuminates the fault lines within the Democratic Party over how to deal with crime on a local level, also seen in mayoral races in Los Angeles and New York City in recent years. Crime has really become a major issue, not only reality, but the perception. We cannot have Houston perceived as not being a safe city, Whitmire previously told Politico. I am representing Houstonians. That's what they want. The race also marked a rare showdown between two long-tenured lawmakers from a party that has flailed politically in deep red Texas. Whitmire, age 74, and Jackson Lee, age 73, are Texas institutions in their own right, easily recognizable in their arenas of Austin and Washington. And I'm not going to read any further than that. Just know that she lost. Iron said she got washed, rinsed, and hung out to dry in that election. Exactly. Because I know she lost by pretty... let's just say she didn't stand a chance. I don't know about y'all, and hopefully I'm not speaking prematurely, but I think the tides are turning. However, next year, next November, that's really going to determine if that tides are turning statement actually has some legs. So I don't want to say, I don't want to jump the gun or anything like that, but I'm starting to see a pivot. I'm starting to see a shift. I'm starting to see that some people are starting to finally come to their senses. So there's that. Oh, well, back to the drawing board for Sheila. Let's move on to this next story. Now, this next one right here, when I heard about it, I said, oh, here comes the BS. So Takeoff, one of the three members of the Migos who tragically lost his life a little over a year ago, now has been caught up in a sexual assault scandal. And you're probably saying to yourself, how in the world is a man who's been dead for over a year caught up in a sexual assault controversy? I said, easy. He's a black man. But apparently this woman who Takeoff was involved with a couple years before he died said that he did something to her And I'm sitting there saying to myself, well, if he did something to you a couple years ago, why didn't you say something a couple years ago? I mean, before, prior, when it happened. Why wait until now? And I'm telling you, the way that I know this has to be a lie is because this woman literally is saying in so many words, she's after the money. I'm going to read to y'all what it says because they got statements from her. Takeoff tragically passed away in November of 2022, but 2 years earlier, the former Migos rapper was accused of sexual assault by an anonymous woman. In a lawsuit she filed, she claims the rapper assaulted her at a party in Los Angeles. Her story details advances he made against her throughout the night before ultimately following her into a bedroom and forcing himself on her. Okay, so this happened allegedly back in 2020. Why didn't you say anything then? Why wait until after over a year after he died to say this now? The story is detailed and traumatizing, but obviously disrupted by the rapper's untimely death last year. Now, after months of legal ambiguity, the anonymous woman is making her next move. Now, this is the part where it gets real grimy. She asked the judge in the case if Takeoff's mother, Titiana Davenport, could be made the defendant in the case. Davenport is the acting administrator for the late rapper's estate. As a result, she manages the money he could have potentially owed himself if the court did not rule in his favor. A hearing was scheduled for February of next year to determine whether or not Davenport will be made the new defendant in the case. In the comments of a new post recapping the case, fans are divided. As you'd expect, many came to the late rapper's defense, suing his mother for something her grown son might have allegedly done while alive, the work of the devil. Another person said, and wow, that's all-time low. Two of the top comments of the post read, but elsewhere, others debate more seriously on whether she should be allowed to seek some justice. So he assaulted her and she's supposed to let it go because he was in a rap group. And it's so sad how y'all protect these rappers. Two other comments read. I pretty much can gauge what crowd they came from. It says last month, both Quavo and Offset paid tribute to Takeoff on the 1-year anniversary of his death. The two reunited on stage at the BET Awards earlier this year for a surprise performance. They also paid tribute to Takeoff during that performance. And it says, do you think Takeoff's mother should replace him as the defendant in a sexual assault lawsuit filed against him in 2020? Let us know in the comments. Let's see what y'all talking about. Craig said this is ridiculous. Rokamura says she's after the money. Surfactant says shouldn't she just be happy that he's no longer around to quote unquote harm anyone else? Denise said the mother has nothing to do with this. Iron said how much could this man's estate be worth? This woman just wants money. To hell with justice. He's gone. Move on. Zavon said anybody's a target. Be cautious. Craig also said getting money is not justice. UJ and Beck said they did the same thing to Rick James and Gary Coleman. Surfactant said, did his mom assault her? Okay, then. So, yeah, it's clear. It is very obvious this chick is after the money. Like, she's not even trying to hide it. Even to go to the lengths of trying to make his mother the defendant as if she did something to her just so she could try to get the money. Because she knows she can't do it any other way. That is some grimy ish right there. Because nowhere did I never even heard about this until recently. Like when they recently put this out there. Like nowhere was this ever floating around in the news. And the way the internet is set up, if this was happening at the time when he was alive, it would have been everywhere. Not over a year after he's deceased. So I don't believe this woman's story at all. What's that hashtag they like to put out there? Believe all women be damned. Because I don't believe this woman at all. As a matter of fact, let me go and look up what his net worth was before he died. Let me look. I'm just curious. Okay. At the time of his death, Takeoff's net worth was $26 million. That was his net worth. At the time of it, since he died, That was his net worth prior to his death. 26 million. That sounds about right, honestly, because Migos it's like they weren't around for a very long time. I mean, they were around, but they weren't around a long time. And by the time he really started doing solo stuff, he was just getting into it. It's not like he had longevity before his untimely passing. So I can believe the 26 million. But still, we know that she ain't doing nothing but being a sack chaser, this so-called anonymous woman. Songwriter said, who's allowing this to be possible? That same question could be applied to a few people in this same situation. But I honestly believe, and I'm being optimistic, this is not going to go far. That's just what I think. Now, the last story that I have involves ramen noodles. And this one is, if this doesn't prove how much of a clown this dude is, I want y'all to hear this right quick. It's a clip. So ramen noodles was on a space, and some of y'all may have heard about this. I actually got sent this. One of my patrons on Patreon sent me this, where he was on a space. Elon Musk was in a space, and it was I think it was over 100,000 people in there. And if you're not going to talk, just mute yourself. But this fool did not mute himself, but he made a sound that did not involve talking. So I'm going to go ahead and play it. And if y'all don't know what it is, I'll explain at the end.
Decide not to have children. That's all I'm saying. And Elon Musk is promoting an optimistic, pro-human future that the science and evidence shows is real and that we need.
Gentlemen, I have to go.
Yeah, I just want to be sort of exactly. I want to be clear about my position. I'm super pro-human, and I mean all humans. Humans in America, humans in
somebody's
Africa,
got their thing
Asia,
open
and everywhere else.
Got their phone open in the bathroom.
Yeah, that's Vivek. Vivek, that's your phone, Vivek. I'm not able to mute you. Vivek. Perfect. Go ahead, Elon.
Sorry about that.
So, well, I hope you feel better.
I feel great. Thank you. Sorry about that, guys.
So, this goof troop did not mute his mic, and he was in the bathroom peeing. If y'all could hear it when they were talking, you can literally hear the drip sound right there in the background. One of the people that was speaking picked it up and said, hold on. Is somebody peeing? It sounded like someone's in the bathroom. And then they realized it was his because everybody else's mic is muted. His wasn't. So it could only came from him. Well, with the exception of Elon Musk, because he was talking, but they knew his voice. But Vivek's mic was not muted, and they could literally hear this man taking a leak in the bathroom and did not mute his mic. So my thing is this: first off, why did you even have your phone in the bathroom while you was using it in the first place? And I hope you washed your hands. It don't even sound like he washed his hands, because I didn't hear no water run before he came back on there and said, "Oh, it was me. I'm sorry. My bad." Exactly, Alana. He did not wash his hands. I didn't hear that water run after he did what he did. He probably went right back and touched that phone. So now, every time we see his hand, we're gonna be looking like piss hands. Y'all, anyone in this chat ever seen that movie Blue Streak? If y'all saw the movie Blue Streak, y'all already know where I'm headed with this one. It was the scene where Martin Lawrence's character, it was in the middle when he was trying to find that diamond, and he looked at a vent and he saw one of the people there put this itch cream down in his private areas, because I think the guy had, I'm not going to say it on here, but I think he had that. And then when he saw him again and got introduced to him, he was looking like he wanted to shake his hand. Martin Lawrence's face was like, because he didn't wash his hands. So now whenever I see ramen noodles hand, I'm gonna think this guy did not wash his hands. Exactly, Iron. He hugged him. And if you notice how he hugged him not around the back, but more so around the arm, so he would not be able to get his arms up to try to hug him back. He was not trying to let this guy touch him at all. But to not make it look too weird, that's what he did instead of shaking his hand. And you know what's so crazy? It's funny you say that when needed, because I kid you not, when I was at work last night, I was in the restroom and I used the stall. It was a PC, man. I used to stall like 2 stalls down, because you're supposed to got to leave a gap in between. That's just the rule. If it's not a gap in between, you wait or go to another stall. But I went in there, used the restroom. He left before I did. And the thing is, you don't even have to look back to see if they wash their hands. You can hear the water running clearly. He walked smooth out that restroom and did not wash his hands. And when I see stuff like that, I always make sure to keep a visual of what they look like. That way they don't, I try to steer clear of them just in case they try to give you a pat. Oh, yeah. Shout out to Fauna Faye for the $5 super chat. This is a phone call between Vivek and our. Thank you for the super chat. I'm gonna just leave it right there. All right, y'all. With that being said, that's going to bring this week's Friday live stream to a close. Shout out to everybody that came through. Shout out to everybody who donated. Denise, Cornell, Sly, Savion, Fauna Fade twice on the dono. Shout out to MR on the Cash App. You know who you are. Shout out to you. Thank you for that. We will be back on here tomorrow with the premiere video at 11 a.m. Eastern time. It's going to be one of my opinionated pieces. It's not going to be related to a particular article of any kind, but I'm sure y'all are going to be very thoroughly, not so much entertained, but y'all are going to enjoy what I have to say about that. That being said, y'all enjoy the rest of your evening. Talk to you all tomorrow. Be safe and be one.